With the arrival of Donald Trump, we have new chapter, new opportunities.
For the United States, Azerbaijan is a special country.
Destructive involvement of Armenian lobby groups, particularly their anti-Azerbaijan initiatives, will not be taken seriously anymore.
Armenian lobby is not just attacking Azerbaijan, but for example, now it's attacking even the Armenian government. So we have to be ready. August 8, 2025, meeting in Washington between leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia, mediated by American President Donald Trump, was the opening of a new chapter in the relationship in the South Caucasus, and especially in the relationship between Azerbaijan and the United States. For the last 35 years, since Azerbaijan gained independence, the United States supported independence and sovereignty of Azerbaijan, supported vital economic projects such as in energy, Contract of Century, Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, and others. Azerbaijan in its turn supported American operation in Afghanistan and in Iraq, but unfortunately beginning 2008, our relationship went downturn, and the lowest momentum was 2023, when Biden administration decided to reinstall Amendment 907. I would like to emphasize that Amendment 907 to Freedom Support Act was adopted in 1992 under the influence of Armenian lobby. Azerbaijan felt that American approach towards the resolution of conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and generally in bilateral relations, was not fair, was not balanced, and since 2023, for almost a year and a half, we had really very negative relationship. Now, with the arrival of Donald Trump, with the August 8 meeting, we have new chapter, new opportunities in the region. The current book, which was produced by the Experts Affairs Center, is an attempt first to look at the past, what happened for these 30 years. In the meantime, this is the attempt to look at the future, what the prospects, what the perspectives of a relationship between Azerbaijan and the United States. And here we are not speaking only about bilateral relationship, because the resolution of conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan creates opportunity for all actors, for local, regional actors in the South Caucasus. We're speaking about big trans-regional projects, so-called Middle Corridor, which can unite several countries across Caspian Sea. And here, American involvement, its support, as it did in 90s with regard to energy projects, oil and gas pipelines, produced tangible results, brought benefits to all actors involved in, for example, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Turkey. So similar opportunities, we believe, is opening up now in the region.
For the United States, Azerbaijan's geostrategic position is number one factor that makes Azerbaijan a very vital country for the United States. Azerbaijan is located on the crossroads of East and West and North and South, and it makes Azerbaijan a very important country for the European Union and for the United States. Azerbaijan also is a hub on the regional transportation routes. From Europe to China, from Russia to India, Iran, all the roads are passing through Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan also is very important energy supplier for the US allies in Europe. In the United States and Europe's quest to reduce dependence on single suppliers in the European continent, Azerbaijan stands out one of the main alternatives. And for Azerbaijan, the United States is important because it is number one economic power in the world. It's a very important geopolitical actor, and that's the reason why for Azerbaijan it is important to have stable, friendly relations with the United States.
Energy was the cornerstone of partnership between the United States and Azerbaijan. For Washington, Azerbaijan is a linchpin state which supports East-West energy connectivity. Because without Azerbaijan, it's impossible to export Caspian natural resources such as oil and gas, also renewable energy to global energy markets, especially to European markets. That's why for the United States, Azerbaijan is a special country.
A US-Azerbaijan partnership was never just a matter of bilateral relations. It was not only interested for Azerbaijan and the United States only. It was beneficial, important for other actors in the region who wanted to deepen their cooperation with the United States. For example, Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, which was possible thanks to the US support, also contributed to independence of Georgia. Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline connected all the three countries from Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey, and it contributed to economic independence of the two South Caucasian countries. And also, the US-Azerbaijan partnership played a very important role in the US efforts to combat terrorism around the world. From Afghanistan to other countries in the Middle East where the United States conducted anti-terror operations, Azerbaijan's support was important. For long years, Azerbaijan provided very critical airspace for the United States to deliver its goods to Afghanistan. Azerbaijan also was on the ground in Afghanistan. Azerbaijan was the last country that took out its forces from Afghanistan after the ending of US operations in the country. The involvement of Armenian lobby groups in US foreign policy was very significant since the end of Soviet Union, since the collapse of the Soviet Union. From the very beginning, they realized that there was a chance for Armenia to take the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan and completely annex it. So they wanted to instrumentalize the United States in this effort, which is the reason why in 1992, the year when Khojalı genocide took place in Azerbaijan, the United States remained completely indifferent to this tragedy of Azerbaijan under the pressure of the Armenian lobby groups, and eventually US Congress adopted very notorious section, Amendment to Freedom Support Act. So even American officials, they acknowledged that this would not have been possible without direct involvement and pressure of Armenian lobby groups in the process. From the very beginning of the Armenia-Azerbaijan conflict after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the United States was an active player as a mediator between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This role was formalized after the establishment of the Minsk Group of the OSCE. The United States was one of the three co-chairs, and during the entire post-Soviet period, United States remained as a co-chair and tried to coordinate negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan and tried to contribute to the resolution of the conflict. Particularly in 2002, the Key West talks where Azerbaijan and Armenia came together through the mediation of the Minsk Group, the United States made a very big effort to contribute to the resolution of the conflict. But unfortunately, until the Second Karabakh War in 2020, the US efforts remained in vain, remained futile. The Minsk Group failed to meaningfully contribute to the peace process. And during all this period, if you check the official statements of the United States as well as official documents signed between Azerbaijan and the United States, during the entire period, America supported Azerbaijan's territorial integrity. And in 2020, when Azerbaijan started counteroffensive operations against Armenian occupational forces, Azerbaijan's effort to restore its territorial integrity were based on international law and international documents, particularly the 4 resolutions of the United Nations Security Council, which were adopted with the support of the United States as well. Since the very beginning of Biden administration, the US-Azerbaijan relations were negatively affected by anti-Azerbaijani stance of Joe Biden and his administration. During the period of Biden's presidency, Azerbaijan-U.S. relations deteriorated very significantly, particularly after the anti-terror measures of Azerbaijan in September 2023. The United States, the Biden administration, clearly demonstrated very biased anti-Azerbaijani stance by taking measures that undermine the US-Azerbaijan relations overall, and also demonstrated to the Armenian side that the United States was on the side of Armenia in this very confrontational, very sensitive geopolitical context. For example, in November 2023, James O'Brien made very controversial statement in the US Congress, which demonstrated that the Biden administration took very clear pro-Armenian position in this issue. James O'Brien clearly stated that after the September operations of Azerbaijan, US will no longer have business as usual with Azerbaijan. They will cancel the high-level visits, as well as they will restore the 907 section against Azerbaijan, which implied that Biden administration will not waive the sanctions under 907. Relations between the two countries started to change very significantly after Donald Trump took over presidency in the United States. Number one reason in that context was that he did not have a similar anti-Azerbaijani or pro-Armenian stance or unilateral position in the context of Armenia-Azerbaijan peace process. For President Donald Trump, it was important that the US-Azerbaijan relations continue to proceed and continue to develop, because these relations from the very beginning were mutually beneficial. Particularly the fact that Armenia and Azerbaijan initial peace treaty in White House in August this year is historic. It was something Armenia and Azerbaijan were discussing over the past 3 years, but eventually, thanks to the involvement and contribution of President Donald Trump, it was possible for the sides to resolve the remaining disputes and to initial the peace treaty. Another very important contribution of President Donald Trump to the peace process between Armenia and Azerbaijan was the agreement on Zengezur corridor. After the start of President Donald Trump's administration, the United States found a way to bring Armenia and Azerbaijan to some agreement on Zengezur corridor, and eventually in August this year the agreement was signed, and now Zengezur corridor is expected to be launched in the near future under the name of Trump Road for International Peace and Prosperity.
We always used to have this balanced foreign policy, which helped Azerbaijan to save its sovereignty, restored its territorial integrity, and also managed to develop from economic standpoint. We managed to implement very strategic energy projects, and all these happened because of the balanced foreign policy of Azerbaijan. We always kept this normal relationship with regional countries, with Russian Federation, with Iran. Of course, Turkey for us is a special strategic ally. And with the help of Turkey, always we kept this balance in the region as well. I read just the news that Russia will use Azerbaijani territory for cargo transportation to Armenia, because Azerbaijan President Mr. Ilham Aliyev opened this chance for Armenia, and Azerbaijan also allowed Kazakhstan to send cargo to Armenia using Azerbaijani territory. So this is new reality forming in the South Caucasus, and I believe that in the future Russia, Armenia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Iran, the whole regional countries will benefit from the full regional economic integration and Azerbaijan's plans for this development.
Indeed, we've seen this kind of fluctuation in American policy when each 4 or 8 years, when the different parties and the leaders came to power. I would like to remind that once President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, complained about transactional nature of American foreign policy. Definitely, every country's foreign policy is embedded in national interest. So here, the equilibrium, or let's say, the goal to find that equilibrium where the balance between two countries' national interest. Indeed important today for the next 2-3 years in relationship between Azerbaijan and United States, to create solid framework which, let's say, won't be undermined after 4 years or after 8 years, whatever. And a good example is energy. The energy projects which Azerbaijan began implementing with the signing of Contract of Century in 1994, and then with the construction of Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan pipeline, Baku-Tbilisi-Erzurum gas pipeline, those projects remained in place. They grew into different other projects, Southern Gas Corridor, TANAP, etc. So, but this is the solid platform which was created by Azerbaijan and its Western partners, including the United States. So, subsequent administration, American administration, has not changed its policy towards those energy projects. Yes, we had some problematic relationship in different areas, but those economic relationship, energy interaction remained in place, and we have now opportunity to renew them. So, if we're speaking about some other areas such as security, military cooperation, some other projects like connectivity, it's important to create solid basis, solid platform, just like we did in energy field, so that, you know, any fluctuation in the future won't undermine this platform.
U.S. administration and each president's administration in the United States play different role in partnership with other countries. For instance, during Biden administration, we had a biased position towards Azerbaijan, and which mainly frozen the partnership between the United States and Azerbaijan. But under Trump administration, as I mentioned earlier, opened new page, because we understand each other, and Trump supports the new reality in the region. And especially for Trump administration, Azerbaijan is a very important state in Eurasia, because it supports connectivity, it supports the regional integration, it supports energy security. Therefore, I think that with current administration, we will deepen our bilateral relationship with Washington, and it will focus not only energy but on other sectors of economy as well. And United States, especially companies, will invest into different sectors of Azerbaijan.
From now on, the United States and Azerbaijan relations will be more stable and will deepen even more in the future. Particularly after the signing of Charter on Strategic Partnership, we will have more institutionalized cooperation with the United States, and it will open up new opportunities for cooperation in other spheres.
Well, we have to be realistic that Armenian lobby will remain. Unfortunately, Armenian lobby is not just attacking Azerbaijan, but for example, now it's attacking even the Armenian government, incumbent government. So some of the elements of diaspora, radical elements, they against peace, against reconciliation. They even support foreign actors, third-party actors in the South Caucasus, not even the American interest, but some other countries. But it's up to the Americans, up to American law enforcement agencies to investigate those relationships. So we have to be ready to those kind of attacks or injections. But I hope now overall there is a sense that Americans, United States, might really promote peace and security in the South Caucasus. And that's the big, peace is big agenda of current President Donald Trump.
I hope and I do believe that in the future Armenian lobby will not have the same impact on the United States administration to have the biased position towards Azerbaijan. And I will tell you one very interesting point, that after signing of this agreement between Washington and Baku, I had the chance to talk to some Armenian experts, and they are very worried, and they said that actually this document opened a new era in the South Caucasus, and it will change the balance between Armenia-U.S. relationship, because Baku will improve its position, and this document for the long term will improve the bilateral partnership and relationship between Azerbaijan and Washington.
In that process, destructive involvement of Armenian lobby groups is unlikely to happen, particularly due to the fact that now Armenia and Azerbaijan have resolved their conflicts. They have signed very important documents in White House, demonstrates to the U.S. political establishment that the conflict is gone, and destructive involvement of Armenian lobby groups, particularly their anti-Azerbaijan initiatives, will not be taken seriously anymore. Because many people around the world, many members of international community, they have realized that the involvement of Armenian lobby groups, Armenian diaspora in the process has been destructive most of the time. The officials in the United States, they are aware of this fact as well. The position of Armenian diaspora and Armenian government are at odds in many issues concerning the relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. We have now resolved the conflict. We have signed very important documents. We are now building interstate relations gradually between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and also we are working on regional connectivity projects. And all these developments in the South Caucasus between Armenia and Azerbaijan are closely followed by the United States, by US Congress. And this demonstrates that the interference, meddling of Armenian diaspora, particularly on the issue with Azerbaijan, will not be taken seriously anymore.